Maturingoshvarkin Radhakundagiranam Ahorarika Madhvasam Artur Supatita Kripaya Sri Guru Tamnatosmi Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaitraya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Bhaktaya Namo Namah Anandalilavaya Vigrahaya He Bhabbadivyascha Visundaraya Tasmai Mahapremarasampradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Bhakta Vina Aparada Lakshe Childasti Kamaitaram Kamarti Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana Vrinde Namaste Charanara Vrindam Vrinde Namaste Charanara Vrindam Govinda Namo Dharamadaveti Govinda Namo Dharamadaveti Govinda Namo Dharamadaveti Govinda Namo Dharamadaveti Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Saketi Govinda Namo Dharamadaveti Sham Sundar Skandashik Smrahasmurli Manohara Radhikar Sukamama Kripanite Supriyacharna Kim Kurim Kuru Tavayasmi Tavayasmi Najvami Tayana Jivikyaya Devi Tam Namam Charatikam. First of all, I feel like suspending that with Puspanjali, my heart like flowers thousands of times. At the lotus feet, my holy master, my supremely worshipable spiritual Gurudev, Asmatiya Paramaratma Guru Pada Padma, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupada Shtotarastasri Rupanugacharya Varya Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj. Secondly, after my pranam thousands of times, the lotus feet of my Param Gurudev, to Srila Prabhupada and to all of our Sri Rupa Gaudiya Guru Parampara. And finally, after my pranam to all these Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, Panchakalpa Pasi Putitanam Pavadi Vaishnavya Namo Namah.
Shri Gurudev Jai. Hari Bol.
By the consciousness of Sri Guru and Governor, now for 4 days we have been discussing Vrindavan Amrita, the nectar of Vrindavan. Especially yesterday we described the necessity of taking shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Rupa Goswami, Rupa Ravanata Pore Bhaiva Iti. When will I have an intense eagerness to follow in the footsteps of Rupa Goswami and Srila Raghunath Goswami? Kavyama Bhujabose Jugala Priti. Then I will realize the Yugala Priti. How Sri Krishna loves Radhika, how Radhika loves Krishna, how Sakis love Radha and Krishna. The subjects we have discussed, they are aprakrita. This material is prakrit. just material. And these subjects are aprakrita, supernatural. They're not only adoksaj. Adoksaj means beyond the senses. Vaikuntha is adoksaj, beyond the senses. But this Leela of Radha Krishna is beyond Vaikuntha even. So it has this special nomenclature. Aprakrita. Supernatural. The reason is it is not only adoksaj beyond the senses, but it's aprakrita. That means it seems to be like prakrit, but it is not. It is transcendental. Because that is the Naravat Leela, human-like pastimes of Sri Krishna, wherein there is sweetness. Madhurya means though Sri Krishna may or may not be manifesting Aishwarya, but his own behavior and mood does not transgress the human-like behavior. Then that is called Madhurya Leela, sweet pastimes. In Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita there it said that Sahaja Gopira Prem Nahi Prakrit Kam. The love of Braj Gopis is Sahaja. What? Yes. Sahaja.
Comes easy for them.
Yeah. Sahaj. Actually, Sahaja is a very worshipful word for us. The word Sahaja, we hold it in the highest esteem. Saha means with and Ja means born. So what is spontaneous and natural, that is called Sahaja. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur said that this word Sahaja is, we hold it in the highest reverence. Sahaja Gopira Prem Nahi Prakrit Kam. The love of the gopis is Sahaja. It is natural and spontaneous. Nahi Prakrit Kam. It is not a lust of Prakriti, of this world, coming from the mode of passion. It is completely selfless. It is entirely, exclusively, for the happiness of Krishna, everything that they do. So, it cannot be understood in any way. It cannot be conceived of with the material mind at all. So as long as your consciousness is within the confines of the material mind, you cannot understand that aprakrita sahaja. But if you think that you can understand it while still being within the confines of the material mind, then you are prakrita sahaja. Understand? Sahaja gopira prem nahi prakrit kam. Sometimes people say, oh, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur has invented this term, prakrita sahaja. But it's right there in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita that the prem of Braj Gopis is sahaja, but aprakrita. So if someone thinks that by their material mind, what to speak of the gopis, any form of Bhagavan, like Lord Narayan, what to speak of Lord Narayan, in Vaikuntha, even Paramatma, what to speak of Paramatma, even Brahman, these things can't be touched by the mind. If your mind cannot conceive of Brahman, then how you conceive of the gopis' love with the mind? But if a person thinks that they can, then this is the prakrita sahaja. To ensure that we don't go into that corrupted conception of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, Srila Rupa Goswami has given Sri Upadeshamrita. So if a person will try to follow practically in their life this Upadeshamrita, they can avoid going into the becoming Vidya Gaudiya. There is a Shuddha Gaudiya, pure Gaudiya, Agaudiya, those who are not Gaudiya, Gaudiya Bhruva, those who dress up like a Bhruva, Gaudiya and say they're Gaudiya, but actually they're not. Then it's Vidya Gaudiya. It's Gaudiya corrupted, in a corrupted state. So to avoid becoming Vidya Gaudiya and to enter into the realm of the Shuddha Gaudiya Darshan, then one must follow practically with his achar. That means, achar means our practical life, how we live. The Upadeshamrita of Srila Rupa Goswami Pad. Gora ame mukhi bolele nahi chali. Gora achar, Gora vichar, lale fale fale. Sri Jagannath Pandit said, many persons say, Gora ame, I am a Gaudiya, I am Gaudiya. I belong to Gaur. Mukhi bolele nahi chali. They say by their mouth, but they don't live it. The fruit will come of being Gaudiya only when Gaura achar, Gaura vichar, lale fale fale. When we follow Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's achar, the example he set in his life, and the examples he has given through his associates, Gaura achar and Gaura vichar, his profound conception of Brajarasa. We have been discussing that for some days. How profound is this conception? The current of the conception of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu coming through Srila Rupa Goswami. We have not been able to really elaborately go into it. Only we have touched a little bit. It is still kind of one-dimensional. There are many other aspects. When Mahaprabhu was met with Srila Rupa Goswami in Prayag, he told him, Hey Rupa, Parapara sunya gambhir bhakti rasa sindhu toma chakayiti tahi kahe kabindu. Hey Rupa, this ocean of bhakti rasa is so vast, it has no shores in any direction. You can go forever in any direction without finding the shore of this ocean. It is so deep, you can go down and down, and there's no seabed to this ocean. So what can I tell you about this? So Mahaprabhu said, just to make you understand something, I'll describe one drop. And that one drop became Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Ujjwal Nilamani, Lalit Madhav, Vidakna Madhav, Damkali Kumadi, Stavamala. That one drop was enough to drown the entire universe. So, if a person wants to have a direct experience of that, then Gaura Achar, Gaura Vichar. We were just discussing now Gaura Vichar. How profound is his deliberation on that divine reality. And the other thing is Achar. You should know that one drop of proper behavior, good behavior, is worth oceans of theoretical knowledge. My Guru Dev used to say, theoretical knowledge is no knowledge. Because whatever the mind can conceive of is not the actual object. So it may be some shape, and we'll have to do it. You'll have to cultivate some understanding, philosophical understanding. But you should be aware, until it becomes a realization, it is not actual Sambandha Gyan. All the three stages, Sambandha, Abhidheya and Prayojan, they're all types of darshan, divine realization. People tend to think that Sambandha Gyan means theoretical knowledge, and then you do the practice and then you get realization, Prayojan. It's not like that. The Sambandha Gyan is a realization. One realizes the beauty of Sri Krishna. He realizes his spiritual form, and then he's doing the Abhidheya. Now he's serving internally to become absorbed in that fully, so that bhav will appear and he will become siddha, his sadhana will become perfect. So the Sambandha Gyan is darshan, the Abhideya Tattva is darshan, and the Prayojan Tattva, all are darshan. They're all vision. In fact, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Parasena, Achanam, Bhajanam, Dasam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam, all the 9 angas of bhakti, they're all darshan. We should remember Krishna. But Srila Jiva Goswami Pad said, Shuddha antakarnas chetsmanam kuryat. If your chitta, your antakaran, has become Shuddha, then you can take up the anger of bhakti called smarana. If the chitta has become purified by what? Guru Pad Ashray, taking shelter of Sri Guru. Guru Seva and Vaishnav Seva. Dedicating oneself in the mission of your spiritual master and the acharyas. And hearing and loud chanting. By these, the sky of the heart becomes uncluttered from the material impressions. Samsara vasana kabe tu chahabe, vishaya chadiya kabe shuddha habe man. And then when the chitta is purified, that means it's become in very high level of sattva guna. It becomes very bright, very clear. And then when one hears what he hears, he sees it. Yetu tadriya chanam bujakosha gandam jigrantikana vivraishu tivata nitam. In Srimad Bhagavatam it said, "O my Lord, your devotees, they are like bumblebees, attracted to the fragrance of your lotus feet, which they can smell." How? Jigranti karna virai. They smell the fragrance of your lotus feet through the ears. And that fragrance is carried on the air of the Srutivata. That is Vedic sound, Shabda Brahma. So actual Sravanam, the first anger of Bhakti, actual Sravanam, is darshan, means seeing. Or smelling. Experiencing through the ear, Sri Krishna. That is actual Sravana. Then Kirtanam means when you chant what you have heard and it is producing the realization of Krishna. That is actually Kirtan. And so obviously then Kirtan and Smaran are going on at the same time. Shravan is going on with Smaran, Kirtan is going on with Smaran. Or a person in previous yugas, they could be in silence and experience Krishna internally, but in Kali Yuga we don't do Smaran separately. So Srila Jiva Goswami said, Kirtan aparityajya smaranam kuryat. You should take up Smaran, but without giving up Kirtan. Because even in our Raganuga Bhakti, then Smaranam is the Mukhya Anga. The main anga of Raganuga Bhakti is Smaran, remembering. But that Smaran is Kirtan Adhin. That means that it's under the control of Kirtan. In other words, as you're doing Kirtan, the Smaran is arising. Kirtana Prabhave, Smarana Hibe. By the power of Kirtan, Smaran takes place automatically. So, this is actually hearing, chanting and remembering. That is why Srila Rupa Goswami Pad has described of 64 angas of bhakti, the first 20, beginning Guru Pada Shrai Diksha Guru Sevan Saddama Pricha Siksha Sadhu Maganugamam, taking shelter of Guru, receiving initiation, making the inquiries about the eternal Dharma, rendering service to the spiritual master with a mood of the very deep conviction, and intimacy, thinking of, I don't know myself, so I accept Guru as my Atma. The word Atma actually means Premaspada, the object of love. So everyone, mainly in the mature world, they just love themselves. But they don't really know who the Atma is. So first, without knowing one's Atma, one should think Gurudev is Atma. But Jaika Yesham Gurudeva Atma. So serving in this way and following the footsteps of the previous acharyas and other sadhus, these are the angles of bhakti. So the first 20 angles of bhakti, Srila Rupa Goswami Pad said, this is actually Pravesh Dwara. It's the door into the realm of bhakti. Because actual bhakti, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, is direct experience. As you are hearing, you experience. As you are chanting, you experience. As you remember, you experience. What is Smaranam? The definition of Smaranam in Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu is the Mana Sambandha, a relationship of Krishna's name, form, qualities and pastimes with the mind. Oh, but wait a minute. Rupa Goswami has previously written Atashi Krishna Namadina Bhavat Prem. Krishna's name, form, qualities and pastimes, they cannot be perceived by the senses and the mind. So then, why is he saying remembrance is the relationship between the mind and these things? Yeah? Because the heart should be purified first, and then when you hear and chant, the remembrance is a direct experience. It's actually a connection. First with the abhas, the reflection of Krishna's form and qualities. And then later in the stage of bhav becomes a direct perception, not only the abhas of that experience. So, mainly, what most devotees are doing, they are in that preliminary stage of the first 20 angas of bhakti, trying to enter into the doorway of the experience of actual bhakti. Because if one is not experiencing as Sri Krishna said in chapter 9 of Bhagavad Gita, in the first verse, what does he say? Raja Vidya. Very good. Raja Vidya, Raja Guram, Pavitram Idam Uttamam. Pratyakshavagam Dharmyam, Susukam Kartamaprayam. What does Pratyaksh mean? Pratyakshavagam Dharmyam. It's a direct perception. So he's describing bhakti. Bhakti is Raja Vidya, the king of knowledge. It is the king of secrets. It is the most pure thing. And it gives direct perception. And it is eternal. Susukam Kartamava. It is full of joy. And it goes on forever. It is uninterrupted. So that is actual bhakti. So if you're not joyful all the time, and if there's any interruption in your practice, and if you're not experiencing perception of Krishna, then that's not bhakti yet. It's the preliminary stages, the approaching the door to that experience. So, how can we go towards the genuine experience of pure bhakti? So Rupa Goswami Pada has given Sri Upadeshamrita. He received these instructions from Mahaprabhu. That day that Mahaprabhu was walking along the ocean in the distance, he saw Chatak Parvat. And immediately he remembered Giriraj Govardhan and he ran towards Chatak Parvat. And just as he was approaching there, he began to sing Hantaya Madhura Abala Harigasvarya Yat Rama Krishna Charnas Parasha Pramoda Manam Tadoti Sagoganyastayo Yat Pani Yasuya Vasakandara Kandamuna Re. The words of Srimati Radhika glorifying Giriraj Govardhan. How Govardhan is serving Krishna and all of his associates so wonderfully. And as he said that verse, Mahaprabhu became stamba. He was frozen like a figure in a painting, like a statue with intense ecstasy. And then he trembled and fell to the ground. Later, when the devotees caught up with him and they began to chant the holy name and bring him back into external consciousness, then he was remembering his experience, his internal experience. I was there. I saw Radha and Krishna. They entered into a cave of Govardhan. And one Saki told me, oh, you go and pick flowers. That means that Mahaprabhu at that time was not in Radha Bhav. He was not in Saki Bhav. He was in Manju Bhav. in the mood of a maidservant. Because the maidservants, they take orders from the Sakis. Go and pick something house. Saki Gana Mama Paramarup Surata Jugala Prema Guru. They asked the Sakis, the 8 main Sakis of Radhika, they are my gurus in the activities of service to the divine couple. So then when Mahaprabhu's ecstasy came down, then he spoke to Rupa Goswami. And what he told Rupa Goswami has collected together and it became Upadeshamrita. So the first verse of Upadeshamrita, there, this verse actually is found almost exactly the same in Mahabharata. And the teaching is Bacho Vegam, Manasakroda Vegam, Jiva Vegam, Udarpasta Vegam, Etan Vegam, Yoga Shahita Dhira, Sarvam Apimam Prativim Sashishyat. There are 6 urges. The urge to speak worldly things. Speaking is very profoundly connected to the mind. Because to produce a sound, you need a movement of prana. So before we speak, first there's a movement of prana in the Muladhara chakra. And then it rises up and passes through the Manipurak chakra and becomes like a pre-conceptualized, an idea that's not fully formed. Then it rises up to the Anahata chakra. So it passes through the mind like a desiring stage. An intention, the intention to say something. And then it comes, it finds actual words into a articulate form in the Anahata chakra on the level of buddhi. And then it becomes sound from the Vishuddhi chakra, and then the sound, Vaikari, comes out of the mouth. So sound has 4 levels, Para, Pasyanti, Madhyama and Vaikari. So when we speak, before we speak, it's already being a wave of prana in our mind and intelligence. And when we hear also, then it goes in, and then it goes through those stages again, back into the mind. So speaking and listening to anything other than the vibration of Krishna's glories will fill the consciousness with material vibrations. With rajasic and tamasic movements. Rajasic movements of prana, and it makes the jadata, inertness and stiffness of the mind, when the mind is contaminated by tamas. So it's very important, if you want to have Visha Chadiya Kabe Shuddha Habeman, that the mind should be purified, we should try not to mess it up all the time by speaking worldly things and listening to worldly things, because that's what we're doing. You're basically just throwing trash everywhere in your mind. And so progress in bhakti will not come. So first thing, check it. Bhacho Vegam. Usually a person speaks worldly things because they're miserable. And the speaking is a way of venting, to seek comfort. There's some, internally we're miserable, and so then we want to talk about it, share it with someone, just get it off our chest. So it's a seeking comfort in the world. Due to a self-absorption, I'm miserable. If someone is absorbed in Krishna, then they're never miserable. Because even if your whole life is a complete disaster, but you're remembering I'm Krishna's servant, then wow, it's amazing. I'm the servant of this wonderful, wonderful person. And so there's a Prayasya Isyami Sanatya Jivitam. Ramananda Rai told to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when will that day come? When being fixed in the mood of das, of being a servant, I'll constantly be overjoyed in a state of jubilation, just thinking how wonderful my master is. Because whenever disaster is going on around you, then in that condition you can serve Krishna. There's no obstacle. Bhakti is ahoitkya pratyata. It is causeless and unimpedable. You can hear, you can chant, you can remember. You can render services in all conditions, even in the midst of the worst disaster, fiasco, calamity. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
But if we forget this, that we are Krishna Das, then we become, at once the chitta contracts. And when the chitta contracts, the whole universe becomes small. And we're focused on this tiny little momentary situation all around this corpse that we are currently inhabiting. So when the consciousness is contracted, we have a very narrow vision of everything, and that is, we discussed the other day, that is dukh. Dukkha means your chitta has contracted in the akash. But when the chitta expands, that is sukha, happiness. So it is due to the internal dissatisfaction that we speak about mundane things. And usually the speech is of two types: criticizing others and glorifying ourselves. Directly or indirectly, artistically. And there's not much difference between the two, really. Because speaking the fault of another person is just like humble bragging that actually I don't have that fault. Otherwise you would be saying it. Right? So Rupa Goswami's first teaching, Vajo Vegam, control the urge to, if you're feeling uncomfortable, if you're not feeling happy, if you're feeling sad, it's because you've forgotten God, that's all. So don't seek comfort in the world. Take the Sharanagati means to be in the refuge of God. Like a chatak bird, never drinks water from the ground. That means he never seeks comfort from the lower plane. The chatak bird takes only water directly from the cloud. So we seek our solace only in the service of Shri Krishna. Then the chitta will be expanded, and it will to santosh, to be satisfied, to be atmaram, to be self-satisfied will just be the natural state. And after atmaramata, self-satisfaction, then bhakti starts. There's no bhakti before atmaramata. Because if you yourself are not completely satisfied, then you have some desire. And then when you do bhakti, that desire is mixed in with it. So now it becomes a Mishra Bhakti, Bhakti mixed with our own motivations. So that standard of inner sanctity where we feel completely satisfied, self-satisfied, after that, then we can serve for Krishna's happiness without any motivation. That is Anyadalasta Shunyam, definition of Uttama Bhakti. So Vacho Vegam, control the urge to speak, is very important. Manasa Krodha Vegam, Manasa Veg, very deep. The urge of the mind. The urge of the mind is to become the Arohavadi. Arohavad. Aroha means elevationism. I can, by my own efforts, elevate my situation to a better situation. This is Arohavad. So the path of karma, what is that? It's a method of trying to get a better worldly situation for yourself. The path of jnana, what is that? Trying to get out of the material situation because that's better than being in the material situation. Trying to get liberation. Yoga, to get the siddhis or attain liberation of merging with Paramatma. Also, so all these various paths, except for bhakti, they're all arohavad, the theory of self-elevationism. But bhakti begins with shraddha, faith. There are many different definitions of faith, but one we can give, which is very beautiful, nirbharata. Nirbharata, it means dependence. It means dependence. I am dependent on the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Without His grace, without His intervention in my life, I cannot be elevated. So that's the difference between Arohavad, the self-elevationist, and the Avrohavadi. Bhakti is Avarohavad. Dependence. And when we have that spirit of dependence on the Supreme Lord, I will serve Him fully, and what will be, will be. Then, this is the Avrohavad. And that is the Swarup of Shraddha, faith. If we maintain the conceptions of self-elevationism, and you can do that, you can do that in your Angas of Bhakti. You can pick up the Srimad Bhagavatam, open it and say, I'm going to read and study and learn what this is all about. You're a Rahavadi. You will. You're going to read Bhagavatam and understand what it's really saying. No, you open Srimad Bhagavatam and surrender. Oh Krishna, you have come in this form of Srimad Bhagavatam. Now I will read this for your happiness. And what realization you bless me with by your grace. That is, to that degree I'll understand something. But if we engage in any activity of bhakti, which is instigated from, which is triggered from our ego, kartritra abhiman, I am the doer, then this is not bhakti, that's karma. Because karma is that activity which has 5 things: adhisthanam tathakata, karnam cha pratakvidam, vividascha pratakchista, daivant ayavatta panchamam. Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, there are 5 factors of action. The body, adhisthanam, the karan, the senses, cheshta, the pran, and paramatma, that's 4. And one more thing, karta, the ego. So anything which is done, you have a body, you have pran, you have senses, and paramatma is there allowing everything to happen. But whatever is initiated from the platform of ahankar, ego, I am the doer, is karma. So this is literally the definition of karma. So, Prahlad Maharaj, he said, Shravanam Kirtanam Shmasmat, yes, we know. But the next verse he said, Iti Pumsa Pita Vishnu Bhaktischan Avalakshana Kreti Bhagavatada Tanmadyevitam Uttamam. I think that person is most learned who first surrenders himself to the Supreme Lord and then engages in hearing, chanting and remembering. These 2 verses go together. People can take the first verse but forget about the second one. So first surrender, be completely dependent on the mercy of the Supreme Lord, Nirbharata, that is the nature of faith itself, and then engage. Then it can be bhakti. So, manasaved, the urge of the mind, is the habit from so many previous lives to approach devotional service from the platform of kartritra abhiman, the ego that I am the doer. Because we've been doing that with everything that we do with so many lives, so now bhakti it's just another thing. Like that, but it's not like that at all. So you have to check the mind, that all the activities of bhakti are done with the Trinadapi Sunichena. Mohamukta, blade of grass, means to give up that kartritra abhiman. The ego and the identity of being the agent of the worldly activities by which I can uplift myself. That is manasavek. Check it. Don't do it anymore. We have to think about it. Again and again, in everything that we do, that we're very conscious, that we're very deliberate. So Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur gives the example, said, I would rather be in an iron cage surrounded by fire than associate with a person who, when he picks up his japamala, he takes the japamala in his hand like a person takes the reins of a horse. See, when someone gets on a horse, they go, okay, let's go. So in the same way, if someone's taking the japamala, Okay, it's time for japa, let's go. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Huh? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur said, I'd rather be in an iron cage surrounded by fire than associate with that person. Because they are nama paradi. They have not begun bhakti at all. They have no idea what bhakti is. So there's bad association. So this is manasavek. Krodavek, anger. Never become angry. If you're angry with anyone, then it's not their fault, it's your fault. Anger is something which is in us when we have calm, worldly desires which are not fulfilled, and it makes inner frustration, and it's being suppressed. And the moment we see someone doing something wrong, then this is the chance for it to come out and pretend that it's actually the other person's fault. But actually, if we become angry with anyone, it's our fault. And the other person is only just a justification to vent it. Anger is a problem. You know that Srila Prabhupada used to say, there's a formula for peace in Bhagavad Gita. What is the peace formula from Bhagavad Gita? Remember? Yes, yes. Bhaktaram Yagatavasam. That person who remembers three things can have a peaceful heart and be free from the disturbance of anger. First, Bhaktaram Yagatavasam. Krishna said, I am the supreme enjoyer, not you. Because we become disturbed, we become upset when we're not enjoying. But when we realize actually Krishna is supreme enjoyer, then there's no problem. He's always enjoying, and we can also try to do something to please him. But as soon as we think I am the enjoyer, I should accrue the results of my activities or anyone else's activities for myself, then the mind becomes disturbed. So Bhaktaram Yagatapasam. Then, second one, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. Krishna said, I am the supreme controller of all the worlds. That means, whatever situation we are in, Supreme Lord has orchestrated that situation with perfect precision. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's okay. Don't try to fix it. It's not broken. God is in control of everything, perfectly. So there's something in that situation to benefit us. There's something auspicious, eternally auspicious and beneficial for us in every situation, if our eyes are only open to see it. I'm not even speaking about a temporary welfare. There's an eternal and pure auspicious welfare in every situation, even of this world, for those whose eyes are open and ready to receive it. Then, the third aspect, component of the peace formula, Surdam Sarvabhutanam. One who remembers, Krishna said that I am Surdam Sarvabhutanam, the best friend of everyone. I am the well-wisher of everyone. Surdam. Surdam means friend generally, but it means the well-wisher. So consider this point very, very carefully. The Supreme Lord is not against anyone. He's not against the demons or the demigods or anyone, ever. He has nothing but well wishes for everyone. So if one wants to come to the platform of being an associate of God, one should have the same mood of being the well-wisher of everyone. Sometimes devotees come into conflicts with each other, even. And the cause is always the same. They've forgotten that we became devotees to become lovers of Krishna, to love Krishna. And every soul is his part and parcel. So we should be affectionate to them too. the nature of the devotee is, as Krishna is the well-wisher of everyone, so the devotee is the well-wisher of Krishna also. Krishna and the devotee, both of them, only want what's best for each other. And so our heart has to come into that condition of being the well-wisher of every single person. And that spirit of well-wishing to others is not dependent on who they are or how they behave even. It's completely independent of their behavior and activities. So then, there's no anger, no resentment, no conflict, anything. So this is what Mahaprabhu means when he said, Amanena manadena. Don't demand respect, but give honor to everyone, to have that spirit. It is said that the sadhu is also Suridam Sarvabhutana. The sadhu is the well-wisher of all living beings. So, if we don't have that spirit of well-wishing to everyone, then we'll find ourselves constant people. Then we cannot follow Amanena, Manadena, Kirtanya Sadhari. We cannot chant continuously. And the mind becomes turbulent. And in the turbulent mind, it's very difficult to have any realization whatsoever. So Rupa Goswami in the first verse of Upadeshamrita is explaining the preconditions for entering into the aprakrita sahaja prem, the supernatural, spontaneous love. Before we can enter into that, then we'll have to follow these things very carefully. Control the urge to speak, the demand of the mind to be a self-elevationist, the absence of nirbharata, dependence from the heart, and anger. So all these things have to give up. Jiva Vegam, Udar Pasta Vegam, the urges of, tolerate the urge of the tongue to taste very opulent things, especially things we shouldn't eat anything, take anything which is not prasadam. But even then, one should exercise some discrimination. And just, mainly sickness is caused by overeating the wrong things. So eat very frugally, lightly, and the body will not be disturbed. Jiva Vegam and the Udra Pasta Vegam, don't overfill the belly, and because if the tongue and the belly are overstimulated, then the genital goes out of control. And then one becomes very entangled in the one drama after another. So, Rupa Goswami said, Etan Vegan Yo Vishaheta Dira. That person who can tolerate these urges, can make disciples all over the world. Actually, that means he can follow Mahaprabhu's order. Yare Deke Tarikara Krishna Upadesh Amara Agyay Guru Hanetanidesh. So then in Upadeshamrita, Srila Rupa Goswami Pad describes the 6 things which are unfavorable for bhakti. Atyahar Priyasa Chapajapani Magraha Janasangastholoja Sadhya Bhakti Vinasyati. Overeating. Overeating is with all senses, not only the tongue. If we look at worldly things, if we hear worldly music, then we're eating through the eyes, through the ears. And this will destroy the devotional mood. Atyaha Priyasascha, over-endeavoring, taking on a very big responsibility, a big project. We are very limited in capacity. We should try to just engage in activities under the guidance of a Vaishnava, because a Vaishnava will not engage us in a way that our bhakti will be destroyed. But very often persons who have no anugacha, they're not under guidance, they get some harebrained scheme that they're going to do something spectacular, and then they're sweating day and night doing this, and they don't even chant Hare Krishna. Or they chant when they're thinking about all the problems connected with that project. So one of the angles of bhakti is don't take on big projects. But if Guru engages you in something, then we should we can do it. But independently, if one does something, then there will be no connection. Because in the order of Guru, there's a power to achieve it. But in our own speculation, now we're just at the mercy of our past karmas. So, prajalpa, don't speak mundane things. Nirmagraha, following the rules and regulations just for the sake of following, without understanding the purpose behind them, or whimsically rejecting rules and regulations. Janasanga, associating with attachment with worldly minded persons. And Lolyan, being greedy for worldly achievements. I want to get PhD, I want to become expert in poetry and whatever. Some type of educational achievement or other worldly achievement that takes one's time and energy. All these things detract from the central focus of our spiritual life. So these things destroy bhakti. Now, what is very interesting here, Rupa Goswami is saying these things destroy bhakti. That's for a person who's actually entered into bhakti. His bhakti can be lost if you touch these things. So what to speak of a person who has not actually entered into the experience of bhakti yet? So, actual Shuddha bhakti begins from ruchi. Before that, it's only a Shraddha Tattva. From Adoshraddha to Nishtha is the development of Komala Shraddha, soft faith, into solid faith. And then Bhakti Tattva begins. So then what makes Bhakti successful? Utsaha Nishtya Karyata Takama Kvartanat Sangatyaga Chatobrite Sadhi Bhakti Prasiddhati. By being always very enthusiastic. Utsaha means having utsuk and ullas. Utsuk means the eagerness, and ullas means joy. So when we engage in all devotional activities eagerly and in a joyful spirit, it is called utsaha, enthusiasm. Nishchaya. Nishchaya means confidence. In the past, so many persons, thousands and millions of countless persons were fallen, but by sadhu sangha, they entered into this path of bhakti, they became purified, and they went to the spiritual world, and they're there right now serving Krishna in bliss forever. So if they can do it, why not me? Yes, surely. Confidence that this path is effective. And if I'll stay on this path, then I will also experience that glorious prospect. So Utsaha Nishtya Dharya. Dharya means patience. If there's some delay in attaining that goal, if one's Utsaha, enthusiasm, doesn't go down, and one's confidence doesn't go down, even though there's a delay in the attainment of the results, then that is called Dharya. So Dharya is connected with Utsaha and Nishchay. Enthusiasm and confidence should not go down. Then Tatakama Pravartana, engaging in all the activities which are required, the angas of bhakti, Guru Seva, Vaishnava Seva and so on. Sangha Tyagat, giving up again because it's important. For we said worldly association destroys bhakti. Now bhakti becomes successful by relinquishing the worldly attachment, and to those who are averse to Sri Krishna. Don't think that when a devotee comes, he's the only one preaching. Everyone is preaching. Only some are the agents of Krishna, and everyone else are the agents of Maya. They're also preaching on Maya's behalf, whether they know it or not. So, Chateau Brité means to support one's life as the previous acharyas have done. If one is brahmachari or sannyasi, he should do bhajan, preach, and whatever comes by Krishna's mercy, he can support himself with that. And those who are grihastas, they should have an honest occupation. Like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was a high court judge, and in his spare time, when he wasn't working, then he was doing kirtan, writing books, going everywhere preaching. Or if one may be like Srivas Thakur, who just clapped his hands 3 times. That means I'll just do kirtan and bhajan. And if Krishna doesn't send what I need, after 3 days I'll jump in the Ganges, because it means Krishna doesn't want me to stay here anymore. He wants to relocate me in another body. So, those type of grihastas like Srivas Thakur, they're very rare, but it's not impossible. So then, Dadat Pratgrinati Guyamakti Pratiti Bhakti Bhojaya Chaiva Sadvira Pratyalakshanam. One should have the affectionate exchanges with devotees. But one should discriminate between the different levels of devotees. Krishneti yasya girtam manasadriyeta dikshasti chepranam tivischa bhajantamisham susra bhajana vigya mananyanya nindali shundirga nipsita sangalabhya. If someone is chanting Harinam, then from the core of our heart we give honor to that person. But if someone has Diksha, and here it means in the real sense of the word Diksha, that they are established in their Sambandha, realize their relation with Krishna, then we must give Dandavat Pranam, bow down to that devotee. And Sususraya Bhajana Vigyamananyananya Nindari Shunyas Vidam Ipsita Sangalabhya. If there's a Vaishnava who has realization of Radha Krishna's Nitya Seva, and he's serving them always, then we should associate with that devotee, we should hear from that devotee, and whatever instructions they mercifully give, we should try to follow it in our life. And such a devotee can be recognized by their characteristics, that they're completely devoid of the tendency to criticize anyone. So Rupa Goswami Pad said, even those very high-level devotees, they're completely transcendental, but by your mature eye, you may see some fault in them. Drishta subhava janitava prashasta dosha napakritatamil bhakta janasipasya. But it's just like the Ganges. In the rainy season, the Ganges seems to have so many branches and foam and mud floating, so it may appear to be polluted. But if you bow down to Ganges, you do puja of Ganges, you offer prayers to Ganga Devi, you take bath in Ganga, then you can feel the clarity, the purification. That spiritual power is always there, it is never missing. So in the same way, a pure Vaishnava, they may have a defect from a worldly point of view. Maybe they have to wear an earring aid, or spectacles or something. So it looks like a vapu dosh, a defect in the body. Or the swabhav dosh. It may seem that they have some defect in their nature as well. Sometimes they become tired, hungry. Sometimes they may be abrupt, a little bit sharp, like this. But this should not be taken to be worldly faults. One should think this is superficial, it is in my eyes. Because by hearing from that Vaishnava, bowing to them, serving them, honoring them, then one can feel the expansion of consciousness. One can feel the spiritual upliftment if one puts aside the worldly vision. Vaishnava cannot be seen with the eyes. Vaishnava is seen only through the ears. And then, if Vaishnava will give their merciful glance to us, then, only then are we empowered to see their actual identity, who they are. Otherwise, just as Sri Krishna is beyond the senses, the holy name is beyond the senses, the holy Dham is beyond the senses, the Vaishnava is also not the drishya, the object of our vision. We are drishya, we are the object of the Vaishnava's vision. But the Vaishnava is not the object of our vision. As long as we take the Vaishnava to be the object of our worldly vision, then some offense will be there. It is a dishonor. It's not the correct method of sadhusanga, of association. One should think, Vaishnava sees my soul, but I am not seeing him. Let me try to see. By hearing. So Rupa Goswami has given all of these warnings, on the one hand warnings and also good practical and positive advice. Then Sat Krishna Nama Charitadis Tapta Vidya Pito Tassa Rachanasya Rochikano Kintwakadat Anudinam Kalasaya Justa Swavikramat Bhavati Tarka Mula Hantri. He said the name of Krishna is very sweet. His form, qualities and pastimes are all extremely delicious. But our senses are not tasting them due to avidya. But if with great honor one will chant every day. And so adarat means with great honor, carefully avoiding 10 types of namaparad. Then avidya will be destroyed and then one can experience how sweet everything. Adaram maduram badanam maduram nayanam maduram hasitam maduram hridayam maduram namanam maduram maduradipate akilam maduram. His lips are sweet, his eyes are sweet, his face is sweet, his smile is sweet, the way he walks is sweet, his heart is sweet, everything is sweet about the Emperor of Sweetness, Sri Krishna. So one can experience this as the avidya is, the degree to which the avidya is being destroyed by the influence of Nam Prabhav. To that degree there is the awakening of an intoxicating sweetness, intoxicating and addictive, whereby one forgets all types of worldly so-called pleasures. So then Srila Rupa Goswami Pad said, the essence of all advice, Tannama Rupa Charitadis Kirtanam Smritu Karmena Rasanam Anasinyoja Tishtan Braji Tadanuragi Janalogami Kalenne Akhilapi Tupadesasaya. One should engage the tongue and the mind in chanting and remembering Krishna's Nam, Rup, Gun, Parakalila in a kram, in a sequence. You cannot, if you don't have realization of Krishna's name and form, you cannot have realization of his Leela. If you try to meditate on the Leela before the earlier realizations come, then there will be no progress. So Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur said, Leela Vaite Nama Spurti Rupanuga Vale Na. A Rupanuga Vaishnava will never say that a realization of the sweetness of Krishna's name will arise from meditating on his Leela. It's backwards. You start with the name and the form, then the qualities, the social, and then don't start with the Leela and think you're going to realize the sweetness of the name. So, Leela Vaite Nama Spurti Rupanuga Balena. So Rupa Goswami said Kram in a sequence. And then, as you are realizing these things internally, Tishtan Braje Tadanuragi Jananagami, be in Braja and be under the guidance of a pure Vaishnava, outwardly and also internally as well. And then one will have develop a ruchi, a taste for the Ragatmik Paripati, the methods of service, Ragatmik Bhakti Shaili, the sweet way in which the residents of Vrindavan behave. So we have been discussing this for a few days, but I just wanted to Vidya Vishara Jai Chuli Pe Roti Jalai Guruji Paute Nai. Oh, if you go too far and you don't come back and revise, we'll forget everything. So Guruji, please, can we go back? This is a very famous thing we mentioned yesterday. So my Gurudev always, he used to speak sometimes and go to the very high topic, then he would say, but you will have to begin. Start from the beginning if you want to attain that. This was his method of preaching. Just like a person who has a very valuable jewel, he goes, hey, come here. And then puts it back in his bag. So in order to create greed, the pure Vaishnavas are showing us something, a glimpse of the beauty of the spiritual leader and then putting it away. Now, how do you get it? For that you have to do something, some great cheshta, endeavors must be there. Humble endeavors. So we've been discussing the Brajaniti, the Ragatmik Paripati, for a few days. So Srila Vishnu Thakur has written a very beautiful verse summarizing that. He said, Dan Keli Kalo Lupta Dharma Maryadayo Bajhe Radha Madhavayo Kama Loba Dhamba Madanritam. The meaning is that when Radha and Krishna come together, then they start quarreling with each other. And in their lila, Lupta Dharma Maryadayo, two things go out the window. Dharma, proper religious behavior, and Maryada, etiquette. Everyone has to have some Maryada, that means some limitations, some boundaries on their behavior. If you don't have boundaries on your behavior in interactions with others, then everything will become very chaotic. So Maryada is very important. But in the pastimes of Radha Madhav, here, Lupta Dharma Maryadayo. The Dharma and the Maryada is all transgressed. It's lost, it disappears. So Bhaje, I worship what? You know, in this world, if someone transgresses Maryada, no one will respect that person. There's proper behavior. For sannyasis, for brahmacharis, for grihastas, for men, for women, there are ways. And if someone transgresses this, no one will honor them. But here Srila Vishnu Thakur is saying, Bhaje, I worship Radha Madhavaya Kama Loba Dhamba Mada Amrita. I worship Radha and Krishna's, their lust, their greed, their deceit, their arrogance, their intoxication, and their lies. Very beautiful verse. Dan Keli Kalo Lupta Dharma Maryadayo Bhaje. Crossing all Maryada, crossing all Dharma, Bhaje. I am worshipping Radha Madhavayo Kama Loba Dhamba Madanrita. I worship Radha and Krishna's, their lust, their greed. Krishna is very lusty. He said, I'm sorry, if you cannot pay the tax, then you will have to come and meet with me privately in my office. This Kunj of Govardhan, and we can negotiate we can come to some arrangement. I worship this lust of Krishna, this greed. How much tax Krishna is demanding? How much tax the gopis also demand from Krishna? Kama, Loba, Damba means deceit. They try to deceive each other all the time. Mada. They're so arrogant. I am the control of this place. No, my Radhika is she's Vrindavaneshwari. And they become arrogant with each other. Mada means arrogance, but Mada can also mean intoxication. Radha Krishna meet together and they drink the Madhu Pandila, honey wine, become intoxicated. So no one can give respect to a drunkard. But Srila Vishnu Thakur said, I worship Radha Krishna's intoxication. So lo badamba madanritam. Rita means truth. So anrita means lies. And I worship their lies. So this is the Brajaniti. Very, very beautiful. Now today, I wanted to touch on one important subject. And then after japa this morning, we stopped, when we completed our japa for the morning, said, are there any questions? And Pitam Prabhu said, can you explain something about specialities of the Sakhis? And that was actually the topic for the morning class. So it shows how he's very tuned in during this festival. So I plan to speak this morning on the speciality of the Sakhis. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he went on his tour of South India and he came to the bank of Godavari, he found, by chance, the very person he was looking for, Roy Ramananda. And Roy Ramananda explained to him the Krishna Tattva, Bhakti Tattva, Rasa Tattva, Prana Tattva, all the Bhagavata Siddhanta, the conclusions of Srimad Bhagavatam in regard to Krishna Tattva, Bhakti Tattva, Prema Tattva, Leela Tattva. So in his discussion of the Radha Tattva, he explains the position of the Sakhis. Why? Mahabhav Chintamani Radha Swarup Lalita Sakhi Tarakaya Vyuharup. Srimati Radhika is a wish-fulfilling jewel. Mahabhav Chintamani. If you have a Chintamani, a wish-fulfilling jewel, all your wishes will come true. So Radharani is the Mahabhav Chintamani. That means the wish-fulfilling jewel who fulfills all the wishes of Krishna. To fulfill those wishes of Krishna, Lalita Visakhi Tarakaya Vyuharup, Radharani herself has expanded and become Lalita Vishaka Chitra Champakalata. So just as the Supreme Lord, he has multiple forms. So Radhika has multiple forms. And those Kaya Vyuharup, those expansions of Radhika, they are her Sakhis. So from the ontological perspective, philosophical perspective, the Sakhis are not different from Radhika. Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitabis Tabiya Eva Nija Rupataya Kalabihi. Radhika is Nija Rup, see Krishna's own Ladini Shakti. And the other gopis are Kalabi, the Kala, that means expansions. And expansions of that Srimati Radhika. Otherwise, Ramananda Rai said, Radhara Swarupa Krishna Prema Kalpalata. Radharani is a Kalpalata, a desire-fulfilling creeper. Now, the Chintamani fulfills desires. So, just from the Chintamani, unlimited, without any exhaustion, it can produce so many things. So, this is described in relationship to Radhika expanding as her Sakhis. Now he's giving another example as a Kalpalata, because a creeper it is beautified by its leaves and creepers. And flowers and manjaris. Its buds. So now he's saying, Radhara Swarupa Krishna Prema Kalpalata Sakhigana Hoi Tarak Palav Pushpapatta. Radharani is the wish-fulfilling creeper, and her Sakhis are the leaves, the flowers and the buds, the manjaris on that creeper. So this imagery conveys a more profound idea in regard to the Sakhis, that the Sakhis are non-different from Radhika, that a creeper is most beautiful when it has leaves and creepers. So when Radhika is coming, but surrounded by her Sakhis, this scene is so charming, so beautiful. And especially Sakya Sri Radhikaya Brajakumada Vido Ladini Nama Shakti Prema Sarang Savalyakishalaya Dalapushpadi Tulya Satulya Siktanam Krishna Lila Mrita Rasanichaya Ula Santyam Amusham Jatulla Sam Susecha Shatgunamadikam Santiyatana Chitram. Ramananda Rai said that Radhika is the wish-fulfilling vine of Ladini Shakti. Her Sakhis are her leaves, her flowers and her buds. And just as if there's a vine and you pour Amrita on that kripa, then if you put the Amrita on the kripa itself, but all the leaves and flowers and buds, they experience the benefits. You know? Yatataro mula nisechanena tripyanti tat skanda bajopashaka. If you give water to the root of a tree, then the branches and leaves and flowers will get the benefit. So this also applies to Radhika in Krishna's Leela, that when the Amrita, the nectar of Sri Krishna's Leela, Sri Krishna's love, is tasted by Srimati Radhika, then all the leaves and all the creepers experience that joy 100 times more than if Sri Krishna had gone directly to them himself. Shatagun Marikam. So here it says Shatagun. Sometimes in the Sanskrit, in the Bengali, it says Koti Gun. Koti means 10 million. Shata means 100. It's not mathematical like that. Just these big numbers, it just means actually Ananta, unlimited. Because it's a multiplication that we cannot conceive of. So these figures are figurative. So then Ramananda Rai, he told Mahaprabhu, Vibharapi Sukha Rupa Swapakashopi Bhava Shanamapi Nahirad Krishna Yo Yadate Swa Pravayati Rasa Pushtim Chit Vibhuti Ivesha Swayati Par Tadasam Karas Sakinam Rasagyaha. The meaning is that Vibhu Apisukharupa, even though Radha and Krishna, they are Vibhu, they are unlimited, they are all-pervading. And their happiness is also unlimited and all-pervading. And it is also Swapakash, it is self-manifest. Because they are self-existent. Yet still, miraculously, even though the happiness is unlimited, eternal and self-existent of Radha Krishna, Shanamapi Nahi Radha Krishna Naratesva. Radha and Krishna, they cannot experience happiness even for one moment without their Sakhis. Pravahati Rasa Pushtim. These Sakhis make the flow of rasa in the lila. They make rasa flow. Chid Vibhuti, Ivesha, they're exactly like the Chid Vibhuti, that means the mystic opulences of Isha, Lord Narayan. Just as Lord Narayan is surrounded by his own opulences in embodied forms. So these Sakhis are actually the mystic opulences of Radha Krishna's love in embodied forms. And they make the flow of rasa by which Radha Krishna experience joy. So he said, Srayati napadam asam ka sakinam rasagya. This is a question. What person who understands rasa, one who is rasagya, if a person actually understands rasa, then who would not take shelter of those Sakhis? Tistan brajay tadanaragi janadurani. To take shelter of those Sakhis. This is the conclusion. If you actually understand the nature of rasa, you don't take shelter directly to Krishna or Radhika. You take shelter of these Sakhis. Because they're the ones who are initiating the flow. Radha and Krishna are dependent on those Sakhis for even one drop of happiness. I'm speaking these things because maybe you have some idea, some conception. And unless it's realized, it's probably wrong. So you have to hear and the idea corrected. Be changed. Radha Krishna, no, take shelter of the Sakhis. Radha Krishna are dependent on these Sakhis for even one drop of happiness. How is it just accept it? Hear and accept it. This transcendental reality, it is avitarkya. It is beyond the reason. Though there are reasons, there's an explanation according to rasa. So we'll come to that. Ramananda Rai said to Mahaprabhu, Madhya Vayasa Sakiskandi Karanyas Krishna Leela Mano Briti Saki Ashapash. Very beautiful. He's saying, Madhya Vayasa, Radharani is in the middle age. She's not in the beginning of her adolescence and not in the end. She's in the middle of her adolescence. Madhya Vayasha Sakiskande Karanyas, and she keeps her hand on the shoulder of her Sakhi. Krishna Leela Mano Briti Saki Ashapas. In this Krishna Leela, Radharani has so many Mano Britis. Earlier in the festival we discussed, we tried to explain maybe in the morning. Deeply, what is the meaning of Manobritti or Chittabritti? So Radharani has Manobritti, Chittabritti. But in Krishna Leela, Manobritti Sakhi Ashapash. Ashapash means here and there. Right? So in Krishna Leela, Radharani's Chittavrittis are running here and there in the form of her Sakhis. How charming! Radharani is always thinking she has so many ideas how to please Krishna in so many ways. These are her Chittavrittis. But our Chittavrittis are moving around in our Chitta. Radharani's Chittavrittis are running here and there, Ashapash, running here and there in Vrindavan, embodied in the form of her Sakhis. Krishna Leela Manobritti Sakhi Ashapash. So, Radharani herself described the position of her Sakhis. She said, Yat Sneha Pura Brita Bhajana Rajataika Varjagaram Varchamala Deepa Yugam Chakasti Tats Cheta Retra Tamopanabdat Paroksham Anandayat Akilafash Prada Sadali. Radharani said, my Atma, myself, and Krishna, his Atma, his self, are not two, we are one. Just like if there's a deep which is full of fragrant oil, you know, the deep is full of fragrant oil, and in it there's one wick, and you can light the wick, and then the flame is burning. So Radhika said, there's one very beautiful deep full of oil, and there's one wick, but this wick is long, it's going into the oil and coming out in two places. And both ends of the wick have been lit. So there are two flames, but actually one wick. And both the flames are being fed by the same oil. So Yatsneya Pura Britabhajana Rajataika. There is a container full of the oil of affection. And myself and Krishna, we are one Atma, we are the one wick, soaked in that affection. But we seem like two bodies, that means our two bodies are flames. Nourished by that affection. With one heart. And one flame is illuminating the other, and the other flame is illuminating the other, and the two flames are illuminating 8 directions. So Radhika said that the 8 directions are my Astasakhis. Because the 8 directions are in darkness, and the only light in that darkness is the light coming from those 2 flames. And that is the light of happiness. So Krishna is illuminating Radhika with happiness, Radhika is illuminating Krishna with happiness, and the combined happiness of Radha and Krishna is illuminating the 8 directions, that is the Sakhis. In other words, the Sakhi's only happiness is the combined happiness of Radha and Krishna. And therefore, Yadyapatet Virahmaru Dedeta Ata Kampam Bhavet Yugapad Eva Bhavet Bhajet Chamurcham Vyagrasa Dalyata Tadavarneya Teta Tatshustayetscha Sukhasadma Gatam Vidaya. Radharani said that if there are 2 flames and the wind blows, then the 2 flames will flicker at the same time, right? Exactly like this, with each other. So here, the wind is Berahamarut, the wind of separation. If there is separation, or even the threat of separation, when that comes, both Radha and Krishna tremble. You can see in Geet Govinda, Radharani has left Rasa Leela and she's sitting in a kund somewhere. Krishna was searching for her everywhere. Couldn't find her, he sat in a kund somewhere. And both of them are thinking of each other. And as Krishna is absorbed in Radhika and begins to have a spurti of Radhika, and begins to play with her, somewhere else in the forest, Radharani is having a spurti of Krishna, and playing with him. And so what they are feeling, in Geet Govinda you can see, there's one song and then there's another song. But really you should think that some of the songs are actually simultaneously going on. That Radhika is singing over here in the forest and Krishna is singing over there in the forest. And so the wind of separation is not, and both of them are feeling it. So if a pujari has a deep and the wind is coming, then what does he do? He tries to cover it. He tries to save it. It shouldn't blow out. He tries to, if he's outside, try to go inside and give some shelter. So Radhika said, so in the same way, just as a person who is in a, you know when you have a lamp and then the wind comes and then you feel a quick anxiety, how to save it. That is the constant state of mind of the Sakhis. That every moment they're trying to save Radha Krishna, who are flickering in the waves of separation from each other. They try to protect them and bring them into the shelter of the happiness of their meeting. This is Sakhi Bhav. So wonderful. These are Radharani's own words. So Rupa Goswami Pad, when he's describing the tattva of the Sakhis in Ujjwal Nilamani, he says, Prema Leela Viharanam Samyak Vistarika Sakhi. The meaning is that the Sakhis, what do? Samyak Vistarika. They completely, Vistarika, they're the ones who expand. That means Vivardhanam. Vivardhanam means expand, increase. The Prem, Leela and Viha of Radhika. So Prema, Leela, Viharanam, Samyag, Vistarika Sakhi. A Sakhi is a person who completely Vistarika, she is the expander, the increaser. She does Vivardhana of Radha Krishna's Prem, Leela and Vihar. This is the definition. So Vistarika doesn't only mean increase, but it also means Vikyapana. Vikyapana means to spread through speech. In other words, to propagate, to advertise through speech, to reveal, because that's the nature of a Sakhi. The nature of a Sakhi is, if she feels something in her heart, she'll immediately speak it. Not in front, but to her Sakhi. If two Sakhis come together, that's when, everything comes out. That's the nature of the Sakhi. They can check themselves. They must express their hearts to each other, because that's the sign of their sajatiya. They are like-minded. Their hearts are the same, so they can share their hearts with each other. They're Sakhis. So they do Vikyapana, speaking. And by that speaking, they are propagating, they are spreading, they are articulating and revealing what? Prem, Leela, Viharanam. These three things. So practically what that means is, for example, how do the Sakhis do the Vivardhana and the Vikyapana, the increasing and the propagating of Prem? You can see Geet Govinda is a very perfect and wonderful example that's very much relished by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and very much honored by Rupa Goswami, because when Rupa Goswami begins his explanation of Madhuras in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the end of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he begins his explanation of Madhuras. He starts his first verse, Vishveshanam Ranjanena Janyanandanandivaram, from Jayadeva Goswami. And then Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu goes on for some time and then comes to an end, because it doesn't go into great detail in Madhuras, it just gives some outline, little shape. But then in the next part of his thesis, Ujjwal Nilamani, he continues to expound on all the details of Madhurya Rasa, and then at the end of Ujjwala Nilamani, the last verse he gives, Pratyuha Pulakankarena Nibidas Lishayini Meshainava, again from Jayadeva Goswami. So that's a habit in writing any Vedic literature, that there should be Upakram Upasamha, some common point in the beginning and the end of the thesis. So he's begun and ended his entire thesis on Madhurya Rasa with a verse of Jayadeva Goswami. I have a great honor for him. Geet Govinda is extraordinary. So now we're discussing how do the Sakis do Vivardhanam and Vikyapanam of Prem Leela Vihar. So first Prem. How do they increase the Prem? Or if Krishna is over here and Radhika is over there, the Sakis are going backwards and forwards. And they are propagating the Prem, revealing the Prem, because one Saki will come to who is being with Krishna, will arrive at the Kunj of Radharani and say, "Oh Radhika, dearest me, Dhamnati, Basati Bani, Banmali, Pina Payora, Parisarmadana, Chanchalakara Yugashali, Patati Patate, Vichalati Patri, Shankitu Baladupayanam, Rachayati Shayanam, Sachakitandayanam, Pasati Tava, Pandanam, Dhirasmiri, Dhyamhati, Basati Bani, Banmali. Oh, Radhika, Banamali Krishna, he's decorated himself beautifully for a gala. And he's staying in a kunj on the bank of Jamuna, where a very sweet and gentle, romantic, fragrant breeze is blowing there. And he's waiting for you right now. He's in anxiety. Radharani is thinking, he's probably with another gopi. So Saki is saying, no. He's only thinking of you. Rachati Shayanam, he's making a beautiful bed of flowers. Sachakita Nayanam, his eyes are like, if a deer hears a sound, the deer is very startled. His eyes are startled if he hears a sound outside. He says, oh, Radhika's coming. And then he goes to see, oh, just some birds. Then he goes back inside to complete his decorations. And then he's staring down the path waiting for you to come. So in this way, the Saki is coming. She's doing Vikyapan. That means she's revealing Krishna's praying to Radhika. And she's increasing Radhika's praying because Radhika's praying is stimulated by hearing about the pastimes of Shri Krishna. So in this way, Vikyapan and Vivardhanam of praying, revealing the praying and increasing the praying. And it goes the other way around as well. The Saki who has been with Radharani, she will then go to Krishna. Krishna says, no, where is Radhika? What is she doing? Madhava Sabirahe Tavalinam Madhava Manasija Vishukabaya Diva. And the Saki will say, oh, Radhika is feeling so much pain of separation from you. The Malaya breeze is burning her. The moon seems to be spitting fire. So in this way, the Sakis are going backwards and forwards and doing the Vikyapanam and Vivardhanam of Prem. No, Prema, then, now we come to Leela. Prema, Leela, Viharanam. How do they do Vikyapanam and Vivardhanam of the Leela? First of all, they increase the pastime. Why? By taking Radhika on Abhisar. They decorate her and then they bring her through the forest to meet with Krishna. So they are initiating the Leela by bringing Radhika to the meeting place. And then when they get there, then, the Leela may just begin. But no, Radhika, don't be submissive to him. And by giving instructions to Radhika to not cooperate with Krishna, then Krishna thinks, what will I do now? And then he'll have to be very naughty. He'll do something naughty to try to approach Radhika by force. And then all the Sakhis, they become outraged. Oh, how dare he? But this is all lies. They're so happy, they're completely happy, but they're all looking at each other and complaining about him. So these are waves of love. The first wave of love comes in the heart of the Sakhis. They become favorable to Krishna. Let's bring our Sakhi Radhika to meet with him. And then when they bring Radhika, then the next wave of love comes in Radhika. They make her become contrary, but then when she becomes a little bit submissive and Krishna notices it, then the next wave of love comes in Krishna. And then he tries to become aggressive and accost her. And then the next wave of love comes in the Sakhis as they all complain about how terrible he is. But everyone is just relishing, they're just relishing. So Ramananda Rai said, Sakhi Bina E Lila Pushtina Hiyai, Sakhi Lila Vistariya Sakhi Ashwadai. Without the Sakhis, this Lila is not initiated, it's not expanded, it is not nourished. And in the end, who tastes this Lila? The Sakhis. So they start it and they finish it. They initiate it and they're the tasters of it also. You see? Because when Radha and Krishna meet, Radhika tastes Krishna's love and Krishna tastes Radhika's love. But it's the Sakhis who taste the love of Radha and Krishna. Jugala Priti. Kabe Hama Bujavo say, Jugala Priti. So how glorious are these Sakhis? So they increase the pastimes. They expand them, they do Vivardhanam by making Radhika become non-cooperative, by joking with Krishna, by bringing Radhika to appointments, and Vikyapanam. Vikyapanam means speaking and revealing the pastimes. Yesterday we were discussing Vishakati Sakhigan Nana Ragi Gai. Vishakati Sakhi is singing with the other Sakhis. Radha Krishna sitting on a beautiful jewel throne and the gopis are singing. But what are they singing? They're singing about the Leela. So they're revealing the Leela through their sons as well. And that also nourishes the prema of Radha and Krishna. So they do Vivardhanam of the Leela and Vikyapanam of the Leela. So Prema Leela Viharanam. Now Bihar. Bihar means the very intimate union of Radha and Krishna. So this cannot take place unless Radha and Krishna know for certain that no one knows where they are, no one will come and no one will interrupt them. And so, because the Sakhis are so expert at cheating Abhimanyu, they're expert at cheating the husbands, they're expert at cheating the mother-in-laws, the sister-in-laws, and they make all arrangements to bring Radhika to a very hidden place. So in this way, Radha and Krishna, they have full confidence that they can meet and no one will know anything and no one will be disturbed by anything due to the expertise of the Sakhis. So in this way, they do the Vivardhanam, the nourishment of the Bihar, of the very intimate pastimes. And Vikyapanam. Vikyapanam means that they also reveal the intimate pastimes by speaking to Radhika in such a way that Radhika will recollect. This is called Rasudgar. Rasudgar means when a Sakhi is speaking to Radhika and inciting her to recollect what happened previously, in a previous pastime. And when Radhika becomes in avesh, absorbed in memory of that Leela, then it begins to come from her lips and she shares with her intimate Sakhi. So for example, Shamala. Every morning, Shamala Sakhi, she goes to Yavat and Radhika has just woken up. And Shamala comes there because in the morning you have to take bath. So every morning Shamala, she wants to take bath in the river of the rasa of Radhika's last night's pastimes. So she comes to ask Radhika, what happened? So then Radhika, she may try to hide something, and sometimes there is the Rasudgar. So only in the company of very intimate Sakis can Radhika reveal her heart. Very confidential things should not be spoken, even to a Saki. So sometimes you find in the poetry of Jayadev Goswami, very confidential things Radhika is speaking. So that means that she's in a stage of devastation, of separation. That means that she's lost control of her mind, of her intelligence, due to the absolute devastation of separation. And so she's saying what should not be said. And this is called a Rasudgar. So one example. Will I give an example? In Vrindavan, come to Vrindavan and Parikrama. I'll give you an example then. So, we have discussed Vivardhana and Vigyapana of Prema, Lila and Vihar. So this is the definition of Saki. Prema, Lila, Viharanam, Samyak Vistarika Saki. The Sakis, they completely do the articulation, the propagation and the increase of these three things. There's another meaning to the word Samyak here, complete. It doesn't only mean the complete increase, Vivardhanam, but it means that the Sakis themselves, they don't feel complete unless they can do these services. In other words, they cannot live. They feel their life is not complete. Their life is only complete, and they feel complete when they serve Srimati Radhika in these ways, in these 6 ways. Saki bina ei lila pushti nahi hai Saki lila vistariya Saki ashwadai. Without the Sakis, the lila is not pushed. There's no pushti, it's not nourished. So what is that? Ramanand Rai said, Yadyapi Sakira Krishna Sangam Nahiman, Tatapi Radhika Yadne Karna Sangam. Even though the Sakis, they don't want to meet with Krishna themselves personally. They want their Yudheshwari, their group leader, to meet with Krishna. But still, Radharani makes the arrangement for her Sakis to play with Krishna. So if they don't want, then how can she arrange it? Only by tricks and traps. So Ramanand Rai said, Nana chale Krishna prari sangama karai. Atma Krishna sanga hoite koti sukha. Meaning is that Nana means various, chal, deception. By various types of deception, tricks and traps, Krishna Pari Sangamakarai, Radhika inspires Krishna to meet with her Sakis. And then Atma Krishna Sangha Hoite Koti Sukhabai. When Krishna meets with her Sakis, then Radharani experiences 10 million times more happiness than when she meets with Krishna herself. So, Srila Vishwanath Thakur has done a very beautiful analysis. There are different types of Sakis. There are the Paramprastha Sakis. There are the 8 Sakis of Srimati Radhika, Lalita, Vishaka, etc. And the Vara Sakis as well are included in there. So Ananga Manju is included among the Vara Sakis. So then there are the Priya Sakis. They are the followers of the Paramprastha Sakis. And they all have equal love for Radha and Krishna. Then you have the category which is just called Saki, like Bringa, Kundalata. They love Radha and Krishna but leaning towards Krishna. And then you have Prana Saki and Nitya Saki. They love Radha and Krishna, but leaning more, they have more love for Radhika. And then among the Nitya Sakhis, there's one special group. They are Manjiris. So Rupa Goswami is Rupa Manjari, the leader of that group of Manjaris, which are included in the Nitya Sakhis. Now, Lalita Vishaka and other Pramprastha Sakhis, they are so beautiful, they are so sweet, they are so fortunate, they are so attractive that Krishna has some attraction for them. So because of this, Radhika, she wants to fulfill Krishna's desire and arrange for Krishna to play with them. Now, they don't want. They only want to please Radhika and make Radhika meet with Krishna. But still they understand one thing, that Krishna is very energetic. And after playing with Radharani, and Radharani is so tired she cannot even lift one finger, Krishna still has some energy. So it's very important that now, if Krishna will return to Nandagaon, maybe on the way he'll go and meet with Chandravali or any other gopis in any other group. So the Lalita and others, they understand it's our kartavya, it is our duty to our Yuteshwari, our group leader, that Krishna should not have any surplus energy. So even though they don't have any desire themselves to meet with Krishna, but because they have this feeling of kartavya, it's their duty to Radhika to make sure that Krishna comes to her kunj and is completely overjoyed there and does not seek happiness in anyone else's kunj. So those Sakhis meeting with Krishna, that's their kartavya, that's their duty to Radhika. Actually. And even that duty they will not do without Radhika's direct arrangement. So they can be naikas, that means they can play the role of heroines. But they are not swatantra naikas. Only the Yuteshwari, the leader of the group, Radhika in her group, Chandravali in her group and so on, they are swatantra naikas, independent heroines. And the Sakhis, they can play the role of naika only on the instigation of Radhika. So sometimes, for example, Radharani meets with Krishna in Radha Kund and they're playing together. Then after some time, then Krishna decorates Radhika exactly like himself. And then Radha and Krishna, they're sitting down, they're in meditation. So then Krishna's winking, that Rupa Manjari. Then Rupa Manjari tells the Sakhis, oh, you can come now. So then the Lalita and Vishaka comes and said, hey, what happened? 2 Krishnas. Then suddenly, the Krishna who's actually Krishna gets up and said, oh, what happened to me? In Radharani's voice. I don't know what happened to me. Krishna is some kind of tantric yogi. He said some mantra and he sprinkled water on me and look what happened. But when he sprinkled the water, I closed my mouth so the water didn't go inside, so I had the same voice. The Sakhi said, tell us more, what happened? In the voice of Radhika, Krishna said, I'm ashamed to tell you openly, but I'll tell you privately. He said, yes, Radhika, we want to hear. Yes, come with me. So then Krishna, technically Radhika, came out from the kunj and then took Lalita. I'll tell you privately, come into this kunj. So then he took Lalita into the kunj. Then Lalita said, what happened? So then Krishna began to embrace her and kiss her and mark her body with his nails. Lalita said, oh Sakhi Radhika, what are you doing? Then Krishna in his own voice said, I'm showing you. You said, what happened? I'm showing you. Then, after some time, Lalita adjusted all her clothing and everything again, and then she came out from the kunj, and all the Sakhis surrounded her and said, oh, what did Radhika tell you? Did Radhika explain everything to you? Lalita Sakhi said, she told me everything, but I can't repeat it to you. You should, Vishaka, you should go and hear it directly from Radhika yourself. Every everyone is cheating everyone. All are lying and cheating. Rupa Manjari was in on the deal. She pretended that she didn't know. Radhika is cheating all of her own Sakhis by pretending that she's Krishna and allowing Krishna to play the role of her. And then by the tricks of Rupa Manjari, Radhika and Krishna, when Lalita becomes the victim of that trickery, then Lalita, she won't tell the other Sakhis, but she comes out and she doesn't own up and make sure that they fall into the same trap again, one after another. Vishaka was next, and then Tungavidya, Induleka, Rangadevi. So they're like this. So this is called Nana Chali Krishna Parisangavakarai, by tricks and traps. This is a Sakhi Tattva. Quite amazing. Now, there is a type of Sakhi that means the Manjaris. They are so qualified, they could be Yuteshwaris. Each Manjari is so beautiful that even a line on her toe is more effulgent than the flash of lightning in the sky. And they're so intelligent and beautiful and skilled in all arts that each and every Manjari could be the Yuteshwari, the leader of her own group. So you can just imagine, in Radhika's group, they're the Dasis. So you can just imagine how qualified Lalita and Vishaka are, and how more qualified Srimati Radhika is. So, Krishna is not, he's attracted to the beauty of Radhika and the Astasakis, not so much to the Manjaris, though he has so much love for them. So, Srimati Radhika, to do the Kama Purti, to fulfill the desires of Krishna, she arranges for her Astasakis to meet with Krishna, sometimes. But sometimes she arranges for the Manjaris to meet with Krishna also. But it's not for Kama Purti. It's not for the fulfillment of Krishna's desire. That Kama Purti she does with the Astasakis. When she arranges for Krishna to meet with her Manjaris, then she does that purely out of Sakhi Sneha, affection. It's simply out of pure affection for those Manjaris. Tvaya yadupabhujate gurajidanga sangi sukham tadeva bahu janati swayam bhavaptita shuddhati maya kritta vilobanapati chaturi charyaya kadapi mani manjari na kurute avisas prihum. One day, one Sakhi had been engaged by Radhika to take Krishna to meet with Mani Manjari. Mani Manjari comes in this world in the form of Srinivasacharya. So that Sakhi went and tried to arrange Krishna's meeting with her, but she came back to Radhika and said, "Oh Radhika, I have failed." Mani Manjari, she finds more happiness in your meeting with Krishna than if she were to meet with Krishna herself. So even though I tried to persuade her, I said, "Look, I know that you're Radhika's friend, but Lalita and Vishaka are also Radhika's friends, and they also play with Krishna, so why you always make yourself laghu, insignificant?" So I tried to persuade her, I tried to tempt her in so many ways, but she would not agree under any circumstances. So this shows that the Manjaris, they never ever agree under any circumstances to meet with Krishna. Ananya Sri Radha Pada Kamaladasya Ikarasati Hare Range Sangam Sapanat Samayena Pi Dagati Balat Krishna Kurpa Sakari Vi Kamapya Charitika Pidastro Mereti Pralapti Mamatma Chahasati. Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur, he says, those dasis, those maid servants, those are the ones that we aspire to follow. They are one-pointed in the rasa of service to the lotus feet of Radhika. They would just want to make all arrangements for Radha Krishna's meeting. Nikunja yuno ratikali siddhyai yaya libe yuktira prakshani tattati dakshar atti vallabhasya pande garosi charanarananda. So, Hare Range Sangam Sapana Samayena Apidagati. Those dasis of Radhika, even in their dreams, they never think of meeting with Krishna. But sometimes, on the instigation of Radhika, sometimes Radhika may tell one Sakhi, I have written this letter, I want you to deliver it to Krishna. So then she takes the letter and sets off on a mission. I have to serve Radhika by delivering this letter to Krishna. So then she comes and she delivers the letter to Krishna. Krishna opens the letter and then starts looking at her. And then approaches her. What are you doing? And she's trying to get away from him. I'm a duty, I'm a messenger. A messenger can give her life, but not her body. Huh? Krishna, no. I'm just delivering this message. Krishna said, yes, but have you read the message? In the message, Radhika had written that she's hinting through poetry that she's, as a trick, she sent this messenger to Krishna, but actually it was just a trick that Krishna would meet with the messenger. So she became that maidservant, she became instrumental in her own undoing. So then, Kurpadibir, Balat Krishna by force is catching her by the choli and pulling her. Mamatma Chahasati, and she's saying, no. And Radhika comes and she's watching, peeping. What's going on? Chahasati means that Radhika sings and laughing. So that Manjri, she said, Krishna, my only joy, my only happiness is when I see you meeting with Srimati Radhika. When I peep through the lattice windows of the Kunj and see you meeting with Radhika, I am most fulfilled and completely joyful. And in addition to that, if you meet with me, how can I please? I cannot please you like Radhika. So I will not be fully happy, and you will not be fully happy too. So then Radhika came and she said to Krishna, you are talking about his happiness and your happiness, what about my happiness? Then Krishna took that Manjari into one kunj. So these are the various types of sakis and the different ways in which they are. It's very wonderful. Yesterday we were discussing Nija Prana Palota Saki Jodoli Ki Pan. Just like the pan seller is moving his beetle leaves, rearranging all the time. So in the same way, the sakis are always changing their mood. So we'll see that the sakis they're all against Krishna, and then they for him, they support him. Sometimes they're protecting Radharani from Krishna, and sometimes Radhika is reluctant, but they push Radhika into the association of Krishna. And then sometimes Radhika, she's protecting her sakis from Krishna, and sometimes she's leading them into traps to meet with Krishna. Sometimes the sakis are protecting each other, and sometimes they're leading each other into traps as well. So all are changing their activities all the time. This is Brajaniti, it's complete chaos. No one knows what will happen next. So Anyon ye, this is a very important point. Anyon ye vishuddha prem kari rasa pushta tasapada prema deki Krishna hoi tushta. Why is Radhika and the gopis playing all these tricks on each other? Because when Krishna sees, oh, Radhika loves this Saki and this Saki loves Radhika. Radhika and this Saki love this Saki and this Saki loves this Saki and Radhika. That is called Anyon ye vishuddha prem, the mutual love between all of them. It is this when Krishna sees this mutual love between all of them, Anyon ye vishuddha prem kari rasa pushta. That is what nourishes the rasa. Remember? Saki bina a lila pushti nahi ai. Without the sakis, there's not rasa pushti. So it's not just Krishna experiencing the joy of meeting with Radhika arranged by the sakis, or the joy of meeting with the sakis, but because no one is putting themselves forward, everyone is putting the other one forward. So when Krishna sees the pure prem between, the mutual love between the sakis, that nourishes the rasa. So Anyon ye vishuddha prem kori rasa pushta tasa para prema deki Krishna hoi tushta. And when Krishna sees that love, he becomes completely satisfied. And therefore, all of these tricks and traps and deceptions and lying and everything, and turning on each other, sometimes supporting each other, sometimes deceiving each other, betraying each other, everything is for what? That Krishna becomes completely satisfied. So this is why it said that Radhika is the Mahabhav Chintamani. That she herself has become all of these Sakhis. She herself has become all of these Manjaris. They are her Kaya Vyuha Rupa. Why? To give this for the pushti, the nourishment of rasa, and the tushti, the satisfaction of Krishna, because she's the Kalpalata, the wish-fulfilling vine that fulfills all the wishes of Shri Krishna. So, Srila Narottam Das Thakur in Prema Bhakti Chandrika, he says, Mahajanero yehi pato tate hobo anurata purva para koriya vichar. The meaning is, I will follow the path of the Mahajans. Mahajana jai pat tati hobo anurat. I'll be absorbed in following the path of the Mahajans. Why? Tarkap tishtat sutayo birimna nasavriti rishi yasya matam nabinam dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam mahajano yena gata sapanta. What is the path? What do we do? Where do we go? What should we follow? Tarko pratistat. You cannot establish what is the right path to follow by logic. Because all of what to speak of the Krishna's spiritual energy, even the material energy, it is a viruddha. It goes against logic. Sayam bhagavato maya yan nyayena viruddhate. In the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, this maya of Bhagavan, his material energy, it contradicts reason. So if you try to apply your logic to understanding the spiritual things, you will fail. Because this Yoga Maya, Gatana Agatana Patiyasi Shakti, it can do what is possible, what is impossible, and even what it's done can undo. So there is no, logic has no entrance into there. Shrutayo Bina, the different Vedas give different prescriptions. The different rishis all have different opinions. Then what should we do? Dharmasya tattvam hitam buhayam. The truth, the secret of Dharma is hidden in the heart of the Mahajans. So Mahajano yena gata sapanta. What the Mahajans have done, the great Vaishnavas, we just follow in their footsteps. That is the absolutely guaranteed, fail-safe process to attain perfection. So Srila Narottam Das Thakur is saying, Mahajaner ye pat tati hava anurat. But, I'll follow the Mahajans, but Purva para koriya vichar. I'll make a vichar, I'll deliberate on Purva and Para. That means the Purva, that means the previous Mahajans, the older Mahajans. The previous Mahajans, and then Para, the latter Mahajans. So in his commentary, Srila Vishwanath Thakur, he says that who are the previous Mahajans and the latter Mahajans, the former and the latter Mahajans. So the former Mahajans are the sages of Dandakaranya, who are described in the Vaman Purana. They were remembering Gopal Mantra, but they did not have greed. But when they met with Lord Ramachandra, then a greed came for Madhurya Rasa, and he blessed them, and in their next life they became gopis. Previous Mahajans include the Vedas personified. They also did the bhajan and austerities, following in the footsteps of gopis, and they attained gopi swarups. Previous Mahajans include Jayadev Goswami and the poets Vidyapati, Chandidas, and Bilvamangal Thakur. So they have written about Radha Krishna, they have written about Madhurya Rasa, they have written about Sakhi Bhav, and in fact they attain the position of Nitya Sakhis. But who are the latter Mahajans? The latter Mahajans are Rup Sanatana Bhakta Raghunath Shijiva Gopala Bhatta Daswanat, our 6 Goswamis. So though they are also included in the category of Nitya Sakhi, but they are very special type. They are the Manjaris, the Dasis of Radhika. So, though there is something that we learn and something we take from the previous Mahajans, but we will follow the latter Mahajans, Rupa and Sanatan. That means we'll not try to have any other position of any other kind of Saki. In fact, it's not possible for us to become Prasta Saki, Varista Saki, Vara Saki, Priya Saki, Prana Saki, or Saki. It's not possible to attain. Only the Nitya Saki category is accepting new the sadhaks becoming siddha are accepted into that category. So, Govamandal Thakur is an example of a sadhak. But the latter Mahajans, our Goswamis, they are in Radhadasyam, the mood of Radhika's maidservants. So this is so extremely beautiful. Srila Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur said, Sri Ishwari, Drishtivagadi, Sarvengita Vichakshanam. These manjaris are so absorbed in Radhika's service. Their hearts are so tadatmik with Radhika that they can understand the language of Radhika's glance. Any small hint that she makes, they can see it and understand exactly what she wants in any situation. In Braj says, Swasumur Swaragolibu Chalatanayana Mukamon Kodiso Edi Lagi Jai Sukh Samajai Kon. That when Radhika and Krishna are meeting, then the Manjaris, they can understand from Radharani's breathing what she wants. They understand the language only of Radhika's breathing even. Chalatayana Mukamon. They're not talking with their mouth, but they're talking with their eyes as they glance towards each other. They're so close to Radhika. Tori so eri lagi means that Radhika is sitting with Sri Krishna and the Manju is sitting at Radhika's feet. She puts her chin on Radhika's heel. And when Radhika needs something, she just moves a little bit like that, and then the Manju will run and bring whatever Radhika needs. So, Jesuk Samajai Kon, who can understand that happiness? No one can understand the happiness. Only the Manjus themselves. So in this way, we are completing our discussion today of the Mahima, the glories of the Sakhis. Ka Sakhinam Rasagya. What person who understands Rasatattva would not take shelter of them? The answer is no one. If anyone understands Rasatattva, they will take shelter of Rupa Manjari and her group. Bole Vrindavan Vyalala ki jai, Jai Saniwali ki jai, Jai Jai Sri Ram.